This is a presentation of Globe Pharma's samplers. The samplers can be divided into two groups, the powder samplers and liquid and semi-solid samplers. The powder samplers can be again divided into two groups, unit dose powder samplers and bulk powder samplers. We will be now demonstrating unit dose powder samplers. Within unit dose powder samplers, we have basically three different models. This is model 1. We also call it a single sample design, which means it takes one unit dose sample at each of the sampling locations. The second one in unit dose powder samplers is model 4. This is a duplicate sample design, which means it will take two unit dose samples at each of the sampling locations. And at each location, both samples will come from exactly the same location in the blend. This particular design allows duplicate sampling from the same spot in the blend. And the third one is model 5. This one is just like the duplicate sampler, but this is a triplicate design. It takes 3 unit dose samples at each of the sampling locations. And all the 3 samples at each location, they come from exactly the same spot in the blend. All these samplers I will individually show you in more detail, and then I will show you how to actually use them in an actual sampling situation. I will show you model 1 single sample design sampler in detail. This is the model 1 sampler. Basically, there are 3 parts in this sampler: the outer tube, the inner tube, and then the sample dies here. The outer tube has a conical end piece which can be removed. That facilitates easy cleaning of the outer tube. This can be completely removed, and then you can put it back after cleaning. And now I will show you how to actually put the dies in the sampler, how to close the sampler, open the sampler, and all that. You take the inner shaft, and whatever sample size die you want to use, take that die, put it in the first sample port, and then you will do the same thing in the other sample ports. However, if you don't want to use all the sample ports for sampling, you can always use a blank die to block the sampling port that you do not intend to use. This is a blank die which has no cavity on the top, and that can go in any port that you don't want to use. And then you take the outer tube, insert the inner shaft into the outer tube, and you close it, and then you insert the sampler into the powder blend, which I will actually show you a little later. Then you open this, and when you open this, the powder will fill into the cavity in the sample die. Then you close this, and you remove the sampler holding the outer tube from the drum, and then when you come here near the stand, you just take the inner shaft out, put the inner shaft and the outer tube on the stand separately, and then using a plastic die retrieval tool which has 2 pins that will go underneath the inner shaft, and then you can actually push the die up a little bit and you can pick the die with your fingers. Once that is done, you have a loose powder sample which you can actually transfer to a glass vial and send it to the lab. There is another thing we can do with the loose powder sample, which I will again demonstrate more in detail in a few minutes. We will use another die called a split sample die, where the die design allows you to compact the powder